Welcome. So, I'm starting this series called Lucky Flow Show.
I love it.
Okay. One of these days, maybe I'll end up on TV having my own show. So, it's my turn to share. And, right, this has been a labor of love through my family for generations. In fact, in the communist China, as you guys know, when they had the Cultural Revolution, for those of you that are familiar, being an acupuncturist or a Chinese doctor, at the time, doctors were acupuncturists. They come in and they make you surrender all your medical books. And a lot of those books, if it's not scientific, it gets burned. Which in a bit you'll see that acupuncture is actually connected to the universe, which has nothing to do with the 19th century science. So we had to have the Red Guards watch my grandfather as they burn our books. It's not like today where the internet is vast knowledge, everybody has access. Books back in the day in your family are considered treasure, where you pass on almost as expensive as your house or asset that you own. So then that was one of the reasons why there was a disconnect in acupuncture. So then I moved here partially because my mother was starting to practice acupuncture in China, and because my uncle didn't take up the craft, because usually it's the man that takes up the craft. And my mother, she didn't get the respect she wanted in China, so she decided she wants to come here. When she visited here, she felt, wow, women had a chance and be respected. And it's getting better today. Just imagine what it's like in China. You come in, talk to someone, say, okay, I want to see the doctor, right? So she weren't being seen. So I've been here since I was 13 years old, and it's my dream to make acupuncture more mainstream. Because when you were to see my mother's clinic, it was a kid doing homework in the corner, right in the front. There was microwave Chinese food smell throughout the whole clinic. Things were chaotic. You could see her bills, her insurance, mortgage papers on the table. And it wasn't really an environment that is suitable for the modern audience, because they want to come to a business, they want to be part of it. Before they know healing, it has to agree with them to satisfy the modern appetite. So that's where I see the disconnect, because many people come in due to the environment, they started distrusting, but they didn't give it a chance. And that hurt the most, is that you can help someone, but they decide to not trust you, to turn you down, whether because of your presentation or whatnot. But that's not really their fault or language barrier. So long story short, this is a little brag, what I've roughly done thus far. And the loud sneezer is what I found the most unique. So when you're getting treated, you hear a loud noise, that's me. So this is our mission statement for the clinic. It's kind of a spin-off on the Constitution. I would like to redefine happiness and freedom, because I believe, from my limited view, that the freedom and happiness has been do whatever you can to seek pleasure. But I believe true freedom is freedom from diseases, unhealthy desires, and habits. And that's when you can attain peace. That's when you can attain true freedom and true happiness, which is long-term sustainable happiness rather than fleeting pleasure where you get, right? So, but for everything else, I believe in the power of democracy. I believe in everyone having a say. I actually really love it, and I think it's very special that we still have that, So that's kind of like where I stand. So then the question is, how does acupuncture differ from modern medicine? Um, we have this idea that everything is time related. Everything is a timing. So then we consider timing, relativity, pressure, and temperature. So here's kind of a riddle, right? If you get this right, I have a special prize. For those of you that already heard it, okay, honor system, don't answer. If you have a stick next to a wall, without touching the stick, you can't touch it, you can't alter it. How do you make that stick shorter?
I have a guess.
Yeah.
So it has something to do with like maybe like a shadow, I'm thinking, like if you stand in front of it, you can like block its shadow and make it shorter.
Gotcha. That's a good thought. I never heard that before.
Okay.
Any other guesses? No. So someone actually said very clever, you just back away so it looks smaller. But the answer I was planning is you put a longer stick next to it.
Okay.
Right? Because it's all in contrast. When people say that they're, unhappy or they have pain, what are you comparing that to? Now, just keep that in mind, so then later on we can get into unfolding that, okay? And then we talk about pressure. So when people are getting x-rays and they look at the x-ray, they see arthritis. A lot of pain is due to pressure, right? You have growth, anything pressing against the nerves, and that causes pain. So like today, it has a lot of pressure onto the joints. For those of you that are having a real life example, is that on a day like this, your door would be really sticky, closing the door, because the wood expands. So does our body, so does every cell. Okay. And then we also consider temperature. So all of this is chi flow. So someone says, okay, I have some pain in the legs. If you take an old timer Chinese doctor, they will say, oh, it's bad energy flow, bad chi flow. Then people may get confused. Oh, I don't know if I buy the energy. So that is presented in the timing, relativity, pressure, and temperature. So if you touch your hands and feet where you may have the pain, most likely it's cold or too hot. Either which way, in contrast, remember the sticks, to the rest of your body. Some people are naturally cooler than some people who are naturally hotter. So it is not an objective measurement, where right now the objective measurement when it comes to a human body will be less important so much as the relativity. Because if your whole body is warm and your feet are cold, okay, something isn't right? If my feet is warm, the rest of the body is cold, there's something is also not right. Maybe you have burning pain in that case. So by accessing the temperature, you can tell. And typically speaking, if you have warm feet and hands, that's typically a good sign than cold, because you have more energy that allows to the hands and feet, which we'll get into that later. Okay. Who knows what this means? This is a Latin. Deborah? So it could be. In Latin, this stands for with everything else held equal. So this is a foundation of scientific study, is that with everything else held equal, we observe 2 or 3 elements at once. Okay? But reality is, in life, nothing is held equal. Nothing is held constant while everything else is going on. That only happens in labs, in science. So the true time is actually like this. So that yellow one is the sun. And then also the third one is Earth. Who can see Earth right now? So Earth is roughly this one. This planet that's very colorful. Or actually, no, that's Jupiter. So this one is it's very fast, but it's right there. Earth has a moon next to it. Now, even though we didn't have telescope like this to observe the pattern, mind you, this medicine is thousands of years old. So people, when they look at the sky, they've already figured out that, hey, you know what? It doesn't seem like we're staying in one spot because the star changes. But there is a pattern. There's a grand cycle. Okay. What else do you notice? Anything? Any adjectives?
Well, something on the sun has something attached to it. I don't know what that is.
Oh, I see. The comment was the something on the sun has something attached to it. I think that's a solar flare. I think that's part of the sun. The sun is not perfectly round because it has different solar flares. But you notice it's traveling in a pattern, right? Everything kind of is orbiting, and everything comes closer to each other and then comes far away from each other, right? So this thought builds on the Chinese ancient philosophy as well as medicine, is that everything is a pattern, and even people and things that happen. So for example, when we say goodbye in Chinese, it's not farewell, like goodbye, like bye. I'm not sure if I'm going to see you again. Goodbye is actually see you later. 再见 means see you again. So when I say goodbye, see you again, means till the next time we meet. And this idea is built on a concept of that I see you today in this lifetime, maybe I'll see you again in the next lifetime. So even if it's our first time meeting, it's our first time meeting again. Now, some of you may have an issue with that. You say, okay, no way, right? No way that that's true. That's fine. But then I ask you, do you meet similar people over and over again in your life? Yes or no?
Yes, you do.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the type of people you're attracted to.
Yeah. So your preferences, your behaviors, where you decide to hang out, and what kind of people you find pleasant, then connects you with those people that you find pleasant. Eventually, you feel like you're engaging in different people, different cities, but same people, similar places. So with that, I plant another seed, which would talk about how that relates to how your body is too. Okay? Because if you see, we are nothing but a piece of life that is very short-lived on one of those planets that's rotating. Okay? Time in years. Okay, I take responsibility for that. I have no idea what happened there. But what I was going to show you there was the number 60. What's special about 60? It's 60 minutes and 60 seconds on your watch, right? Why is that? Why 60? Why not 59 or 100? Right? So that is the secret of time. Either is ancient Egypt or the Celtics or Chinese, everybody unanimously agree the number 60 is the count for time because there are 12 months. And when the stars realign exactly at the same place in the sky, it's roughly 60 years. Okay? So there's a piece of ancient secret. Okay? So then we're really thinking about 12 because there's 12 months. And the idea is that a grand cycle is 12 years. And then a smaller cycle then is 12 months, which is 1 year. And there's also 12 different energy channels in your body that's also getting rotated every 12 units. So every day there's 12 2-hour segments, so 24 hours. Every month, right, every year, then there's 12. Then every 12 years, there's another. So then it cycles. Okay? Kind of like that. Okay? So who's getting my newsletters, by the way?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So every mark benchmarks a new season, actually. This is 24 solar terms. So if you divide a day into 24 hours, this is 24 hours in a year. So every hour there is a better way that you would like to behave that is easier to be. Okay. So who here believes that living according to nature is better than living against nature? Okay. Who here believes that our virtue as a human being is to conquer nature?
No, it's not.
Why? Why not?
Because you can't, it's kind of, you can't, okay. Some things are, because nature is always a change.
Yeah.
Okay? In other words, it's not a constant.
Right.
Because it's always changing.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, it goes against the laws of relativity.
Right.
You know, I mean, we could equate this even to the laws of physics, where every action there's an equal opposite reaction.
Mhm.
So, no, you can't conquer nature. I
Yeah.
mean, you try to be in alignment with it.
Right.
Right.
So this is where the fundamental ideas may differ between the East and the West based on my limited understanding. In the East, we believe that if you are living according to nature, not only nature wins, you win. Because you can live very flawless, seamlessly and flowing through nature. It's like you're surfing a wave. If you live against nature, it's more a rise of the ego. And this is based on the notion that's created predominantly in the 19th century, is that man's purpose is to conquer nature. But little do we know, we actually make nature more volatile. The more you're unwilling to let go, the more you're willing to defeat nature, the more nature then fights back, then everybody has, then you need to be fighting harder, and nature comes back harder. Eventually, right? It's what then cascades into different effects, including people's health. And over here we have essentially, right, just to quickly explain, this is the summer solstice. So this is equivalent to noontime, right? When the sun is hottest, when the earth is hottest, a lot of sun, as opposed to over there, I can do this. Can you see my mouse there? This is winter solstice, so this is like the nighttime. So it's preferred that during the day you don't sleep. You don't take you don't just sleep the day away. And at nighttime, you actually rest. So it's preferred that in the summertime you're more active, and in the wintertime you're more dormant, right? Why do hockey players go bald? Right? Because a lot of them, they play winter sports, they lose their hair quicker because they're burning at a time they're supposed to be conserving. Yeah. So that is so this is why I would prefer summer sports instead of winter sports. Okay. And then obviously, right, different time have different things. Like in the springtime you plant, right? Summertime you cultivate, wintertime you harvest, and or the autumn time you harvest, and then winter time you kind of save the seeds. Yes, Toya.
This is why I have heard from some naturopaths
Mhm.
that eat for the season, because if you live in an area
Yup.
where there is 4 seasons as opposed to constant sunshine, if you're trying to eat like summer fruits in the winter, that it's like a contradictory to your digestive system.
Yep.
You know, as opposed to someone who say lives in the tropics.
Yeah.
You know, and they can eat more tropical, you know, types of fruit all
Yeah.
year round.
Yep.
But you, as they say, you should eat for the season. And since we do have the 4 seasons in this location,
Mm-hmm.
right, there are foods that are more, applicable to each season.
Yep. So the comment was that eat with the season is better than eating randomly. And it's perfect segue to the next slide because it actually screws up your timing. This is Chinese astrology, okay? Medicine has never separated from astrology because medicine should always be individualized. Not until the recent years that is separated within the last couple centuries. But this is how we calculate a person's constitution. So we take the element of the hour, the day, the month, and the year that you're born. So remember we say 12, right? So 12 is roughly the 12 units of time during the day, right? So then during the hottest part of the day, we say that's summertime. Coldest part of the day is winter time. Okay, in the morning is springtime. At dinner time is winter time or autumn time. So then we say that those according to elements, so that when the morning is wood, and then we transition into fire, and then we transition into earth, and then we transition into metal, and transition into winter. So based on the phases of the year, the month, the day, and the hour, the first breath that you draw depends on how uniquely you are. And the goal here is not making everybody a super person, is to make your being have the most authentic expression. Because it's believed that if you are a being that's able to truly, authentically express yourself, you're not only living up to your God's purpose, your destiny, your health will be better, and you also be more fulfilled and happy. So we can talk about that later. In ours is this, okay? This is the circadian rhythm. So back to what Toya was saying, eating according to the season is that when people ask you, they say, Stu, how are you? How are you?
Okay.
Okay. When are you? You get confused.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Now.
if I ask a nurse right now who works at night, right? A nurse that works through the night, right now she should be sleeping, right? If I ask a nurse who works night shift, when are you? She wouldn't say 3 p.m. She would say 3 a.m. I am at 3 a.m. because my body is currently at 3 a.m. despite the clock is 3 p.m. So if you eat summer stuff during the winter, I ask you, when are you? Your body would answer summer. In reality, right now is winter. So a new ask of how people are should be, how are you? And also, when are you? Right? Because then that's how you feel. If right now is winter, but I feel very summer, I'm not going to feel good, right? Because I feel I should be out there dancing in the streets, but it's snowing out. So I feel sad. If it is summertime where I feel like I should be staying in, so you flip-flopped, so it's summertime, you feel like winter, so you don't want to go out. But everybody says, oh, let's go out. Don't be depressed. Maybe you just flipped it. Maybe when you want to go out is when everybody else wants to go out. Right? So very simply we talk about, right, there's different hours of the day is broken into different organ categories, which is broken into different meridian channels, but today we're just going to focus on the digestive piece, which is the stomach, spleen, heart, and small intestine, and large intestine. Okay.
Lucky, when it's referring to, you're saying these large intestines and the times,
Mhm.
is that when those organs are most active or need the most nurturing, or like, how do those two things correlate there?
Yep. So the question was, how does the organs, according to time, work? It works is when it nourishes. So you're correct.
Okay.
So let's say when I look at a person's tongue and their tongue shows me that they have liver qi stagnation or any liver issue, I just look at their tongue and say, you wake up at 2-3 a.m. in the morning. And they'll be like, no way, you must be a fortune teller. So then so then that's when they get more interested. But I say 2-3 a.m. because it's actually 2 to 4 a.m. because Michigan is 1 hour after solar time. Do people understand? So whatever time we have is actually in New York. The sun isn't here yet, so we're in a different timing system. Okay. And then the yin and yang, it's pretty straightforward. You know, yang is kind of like the moving, right? The day, and the yin is the night. So we can have a whole day discussion just on yin and yang, but right now, just kind of look at that, okay? Oh, by the way, make sure you fill out your sheets. If you fill this out, at the end, you get a prize, too. Okay? Yeah. As long as you complete it in the end, if you miss some already, make sure you can copy the notes from each other. If you can show me you complete it, you get a prize in the end for attending class. Okay, so this is the circadian rhythm on the right. This was invented by 1727 by a French psychologist, Jean Jacques Marchand. So, excuse me for butchering the name, but this was conveniently discovered roughly 3000 BC by the Chinese. And it correlates with what the circadian rhythm that was discovered roughly, 300 years ago, was that we have a rough idea when the best time is we should be eating, when the best time is we should be sleeping, when the best time we're most functioning, right? So you can see a lot of people say, oh, you know what? Right around lunchtime, I want to take a nap. I need my second cup of coffee. But right at 10 a.m., it should be the best performing time of your day. If your timing's wrong, then you won't be performing well. Right? So part of acupuncture, like I said, is we correct your timing. Okay. So how many years have you... Okay, this is a fun little question. How many years have this been since the beginning of this little short clip till the end? Let's see who can have an idea here. Who knows?
12.
12. So you count how many times the Earth spin around the sun, right? So it's about 7 years. 7 years from my count. So the sun doesn't actually spin around Earth. Everything spins around the sun. So we all know that. Good. And the Earth could be flat too, right? Maybe it's just keeping the same orientation. That was a joke. Okay. Use the disc. Okay. So Qi is flawless. It's timeless flow, just like you. So some people may believe in reincarnation. Some people may not. But the general consensus through all religion is that we live more than once. After this life, the short time that we have, we go somewhere else. We go somewhere else either better or worse, or the same. Okay? In Chinese, we believe that we live here again. And if you reincarnated in a better life, then it's almost like you've reincarnated in heaven. Because some people that are not having good circumstances, upbringings, are not considered a very happy and fulfilled, right? So each person's self-fulfillment has to do with how they feel in the past. So in some ways, it's not always material. It's about your own perception. You may feel like that sometimes, myself too, I wake up and contemplate, am I born in the right time? Why do I feel like the world should be different than it is now? Right? So that is a question. If you feel that way, you're not alone. We all feel that way. And the idea is that, right, maybe this isn't the first time. Maybe. So what is qi? Qi is considered the breath of creation. I know in Bible or some religions is that, right, that we were created from God's breath. By the way, if I've butchered that, I ask for forgiveness for those of you here and also those of you who are watching online. Is that there's always this concept of this like breath, this concept of this energy that comes to be. Whether you believe in we're evolved from monkeys or not, is that we're different than monkeys. So there's something different about us. So what is that? Who wants to read this really quick for the class?
Qi, also qi or qi. Are you saying qi or qi?
Mhm.
Is believed to be a vital life force forming part of any living entity, literally meaning vapor, air, or breath. The word qi is often translated as vital life force, material energy, or simply as energy.
Okay. So for those of you that come to class physically and not just watching it online, I'm gonna make the people watching online jealous. They wanna come in. Okay? All my patients, 3,000 and change, they just keep watching it online. So I'm gonna show you a tip of how to take in 50% more oxygen than you had before. So everybody stand up, please. So we're gonna get to there, but this is the long channel from the fingertips. So when you reach up, your long channel has to open. So like this, open your hands. Yep, make sure we don't hit each other. And then get on your tippy toes and then breathe in. Get on your tippy toes and reach your hand up. And then get down and breathe out. Do it as much as you can. If you have physical limitations, please, okay? So let's do it all together, okay? So remember, breathe in all the way in. Breathe out. Okay. Do it one more time. Breathe out. Now the last one, as exaggerated as you can, almost reaching back and up. Breathe out. Okay. Everybody sit down slowly. And let me know if you feel a little bit of an oxygen high. Do you? Who feels like they got more oxygen? Right? Okay. So maybe we'll do that again. I know this is not the most exciting thing that you could be doing at this moment.
I want to make a comment on that. Because
Yeah.
again, there are so many people that do breathe incorrectly.
Yeah.
A lot of people, when they think you're saying inhale, they think that they're supposed to, bring in their diaphragm, and that's just the opposite. When you
Yeah.
actually are breathing in, your diaphragm should be pushing out and not in.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So that's correct. The question is that from Toya is when you breathe in, your diaphragm should be out. So you should be picturing the air coming in through the lungs and to the stomach. And a quick segue on that is that the fundamental belief about life is different in Chinese medicine than modern medicine. Modern medicine's belief in life is the body, whereas our belief in life is rhythm. We believe that all life is a rhythm. That's actually what qi is. Does this have qi? Like very little, right?
But it still has it.
Right.
Because everything is vibrating. This is where you're blank. Everything is vibrating. It's just the rate of vibration.
Right.
That's it.
So what if we put this desk next to a plant? Then which one has more qi? Right. What if we put the plant next to a person? Right. Yeah. So then from that, what we put two people next to each other, who has more qi?
It's just going to increase the, and that's the operative thing, is the way in which a person breathes and how correctly they've been breathing.
Yep.
Is going to determine, because we're then going back to the rate of vibration.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is why there's yoga, there's meditation. In acupuncture, we're correcting the qi. It is believed that when you're able to regulate your breath, you re-regulate your rhythm, you re-regulate your being, and then your body then follows. It is not a quick fix shortcut. It takes time. So this is why qi and breath is so important. You go somewhere, they say, okay, relax, breathe, right? So a lot of patients, they come in, they say, oh, I'm healthy. I just get short of breath sometimes, right? So maybe that's something we can work on, right? So when you get acupuncture, you start feeling much better afterwards. You start noticing your breath is deeper. Yeah, so very good question, Toya. Okay, next. So qi is 5 different functions. What does it do for you? First is moving, okay? Moving could make things move. This includes moving your body, circulation, movement in blood vessel, your organs. Second one is warming. People are typically more cold. They tend to have less qi. People who are warm, they tend to have more qi. So some patients, I'm treating in this room in the back, and when they come in, it's like, hey, what is this place? And I can already hear them from the door closed and the music and the noise. I already know, okay, this person, they won't have cold hands and feet. This is a very hot person. This person is probably very warm. In fact, probably too warm. Okay. So this is the person, maybe they could get the vaccine and calm down right now. Just kidding. Bad joke. All right.
Good joke.
Defense. So a person with good qi. So also know if you have a lot of qi, that actually puts you more susceptible to diseases too. So a good moderate amount of qi, above average qi, would be having good defense. So there's a lot of arguments out there about whether COVID is real. I think it depends on the individual. If a person has very good qi, this is a person that don't normally get sick anyways. And if they get sick, they recover very quickly. Versus somebody who, every time there's a cough or a sick cold going around, they always catch it. Of course this person is going to catch it. Even if they get the vaccine, they'll still get some kind of cold, you know? So it depends on who's asking. The person with good qi, of course, is going to think it's a hoax. Or the person that gets sick all the time, of course, that you should be wearing a mask anyway, just to don't get cold, right? So then I think that should satisfy for the argument there, right? Depends on who's asking. It's like the sticks. You hear the long stick or short stick. We're all different. Containment. So if someone is having low qi, they tend to not be able to contain their bodily functions, such as sweat, urine. So someone sweats a lot, spontaneous sweating, leakage in facilities, or premature ejaculation, or sometimes people kind of just ejaculate, or different things. This is the body lacking qi Qi also contains your fluids. Okay. Also transformation of food, drinks. A lot of people, they have a whole pile worth of supplements, but they eat all the supplements, they still don't feel good. Or I drink my water, I drink a gallon a day, half a gallon a day, I still get thirsty, I still get dry. And this is because your qi is low. You can't process the nutrients that you eat. You can't absorb the water that you drink. Speaking of water, let me get some water. Oh, by the way, if you like to have some water as snacks, help yourself. Okay, so next, we say, what else is qi, right? Qi is the breath of creation, is a pattern which perpetuates through the universe. It is your being. How long has qi been around? Nobody knows. Nobody knows. So far as we know, that this has always been. Okay? And we can see that different planets, this is also, right? So different planets have different energy. So for example, Mars is a fire energy, Saturn is earth energy, Venus is metal, Mercury is water, Jupiter is wood. So let's say if someone is having water-related issues, so water organs are kidneys, bladder, during a Mercury retrograde, people who are already having water element related issues will have a hard time. Some retrogrades affects some people a lot, but some people during that retrograde, they feel great. So that's why. Depends on the person. Okay, so the different qi frequency patterns manifested as in people. So we're gonna take cats for example. So this cat, the CEO cat, look at this cat. This cat means business, right? So this is a different energy than the general manager, right? This is your regular manager, assistant manager, employee, intern, and freelancer. Yeah, I'm more of a freelancer. Right. Okay. All right. Okay, so now we're getting to something a little bit more boring, okay? That we're actually learning now. Learning modern knowledge. So we have prenatal qi and postnatal qi. Prenatal qi are the qi that you're born with. It comes from your mother and father. Closest scientific equivalent is genetics. When the doctor looks at you, they don't know what's going on, they say it's genetics. But with acupuncturists, we can say exactly what about this genetics is because we look at rhythm. Okay. Postnatal qi is your habits and changes, your choice. Let's say if we have two famous athletes who are very strong and they have a kid, this kid would be born with a lot of prenatal qi, right? If we have two very smart individuals, this kid is going to be born with a lot of smarts, right? So kind of like that. But then we can always then learn. So nature versus nature is here, is always 50-50. Like the yin and yang. So prenatal qi develops in your body. It consists of 40 weeks in your mother's womb. And you will then inherit the ancestors' wisdoms, memories, behaviors, and preferences. So some people don't need too much introduction on something and they know they already like it. Right? Who gets what I'm talking about? So some people naturally would like spicy food. They'll have spicy for the first time. Hey, you know what? I like it. You know? Some people can keep eating it, very hard for them to acquire. So you can also acquire a taste. Let's say if you were born not liking spice, but everybody in your family eats spice, then okay, all right, I like it. But actually also like sour a lot more than I like spice. So in a little bit, we'll then discover what about your chi that makes you like what flavors more than others, and what are some flavors that are also correlated to other activities that you like. So when you come in for treatment, when I look at you, I can actually get an idea of what kind of person you are too. Yeah. So we have the maternal chi and the paternal chi. So the maternal chi comes from your mother, which is like the building blocks. What is the quality of your flesh? What is the quality of your blood? Quality of your circulation? And the father's is more like the quality of your how these building blocks are being built. Okay, so it's like a blueprint versus material. Now we talk about postnatal chi. So this is the second big factor. So prenatal chi is half the factor, a quarter of the factors from your dad, a quarter of the factors from your mom, half the factors from you. And there's a saying that came to mind is that it is not your fault where you start, but it is your fault if you decide to stay there. Okay? So now, what can we do? Postnatal chi. So this is influenced by internal and external. So internal factors include diet, exercise, or external factors depends on, your occupation, your friend circles, also your step parent. So you inherit something from your dad, but if you're raised by someone else, so then you take on their influence. Remember the cats? Your mother and father was a freelancer, but you got a CEO for dad. So that CEO frequency is going to get rubbed off on you, right? Inevitably. So a quarter of that would be from your digestive system. And another quarter of that is from your behavior, how you think. What are your virtues? What you learn, okay? And digestion is this piece that we're going to explore that affects your chi level, or at least a quarter or half of it. It is the element of earth, and some earth element includes trustworthiness, stable, okay? Depends on how you feel. So the question Mark had in the beginning, or Catherine had, was, does your mind affect your body, or does your body affect your gut, right? Of course. Is how much are you willing to trust others? Depends on also how much you're willing to trust yourself, which then depends on a lot of things, right? Which then cascades to a lot of things. Are you able to trust the things that you do? Are you able to trust yourself? Are you able to move, right? Are you able to be sure about something? Is that going to be affecting your anxiety? If you're sure about what you're doing, if you're sure about other people around you, if you're sure about life in general, if you're sure about tomorrow, today, yesterday, what you did. So, of course, this has to do with that, but we look at it differently. Instead of different chemicals, we just say that, hey, this is earth. So, now we talk about chi and blood. So, coming back, we have, your body and your mind, essentially, right? So this is within your body there's chi and there's blood. Chi is more like the blueprint, remember? And blood is like the building blocks. So back here we talk about your mother is your building blocks, the chi is the father, is the blueprint. Over here, your building blocks is going to be your actual digestion and organs, and your blueprint is going to be how you think, your mindset. So yang is chi, which is dispersing. Your energy gets dispersed. Is dispersing good or bad? All right? Depends on the person. Some patients, they start getting acupuncture and they start, in the beginning, they feel like they lose sleep. But hey, I still feel good. You know, I didn't sleep well last night. I only slept about 3 hours. I keep waking up, but you know what? Today I feel pretty good. Yeah. Let me keep treating and see what happens. So this is because you first got a lot of chi, because your system started to work already. So then you have too much chi. So this is good that you have some activities that help you disperse a little bit of that chi, because then you have too much chi. If you have too much chi, then you start arguing with your spouse, right? So we call that liver chi stagnation. So that we go over that in the liver. In the spleen, if you have a lot of spleen chi, you also get angry too. A lot of spleen chi is also an inefficiency in digestive system, which we're going to go over later. But chi, all you can know, you can see that what are some activities, kind of like the military, right? The military deploys in different countries. You have to go out. You can't stay home and do military online. Although, who knows, right? Maybe you can Zoom military now. So then, this guy was, right, versus this guy. So this guy has a lot of blood, has a lot of building materials. So some people, it doesn't matter how much they go to the gym, they don't seem like they can build muscle. It's because this person doesn't have the building blocks, right? Now this is aside from taking steroid, that's the whole different thing, which, right, obviously we know that's not a long-term solution. But essentially building steroids and all these things is to temporarily exploit, is to frack. It's spleen fracking, that you frack it so that you can temporarily have the build, and then long term later on, who cares? That is the attitude. And then over here, right, we have this guy that's very fit. So who would you hire as your bodyguard, as your security detail? This guy or this guy? Huh? The big guy, why is that?
Because he can handle anybody if it's right on that.
Okay. Who do you think would run faster? The smaller guy, right? So, yeah, it depends on what you're looking for. But yeah, this guy is most likely going to get tired less quickly and being able to do more endurance, whereas this guy is probably more burst, less endurance, right? And that is a snapshot of how stomach and spleen kind of is. And also, spleen is more of an energy of the yin, which is kind of like a nurse, right? It's kind of like family. It's about gathering. It's more of the traditional feminine role, where it's like, you want to join the army? No, you're not joining the army. You're staying home, right? You're going to be a police officer. I know you have a job, but no, your family should be your job, right? So this is the traditional female gender that embodies the yin energy, which is about consolidation, okay? And yang energy is about, right, okay, I know we have a family here, but hey, I got a mission. I have to protect the world, right? So they each have their own purpose. They have their own job. Any questions on this page? Okay.
Which one's the spleen? Which one's?
The spleen is the yin, which is more like the consolidation. Okay, so now we talk about the stomach, which is what produces chi. Now, this chi is postnatal energy. Right? Remember, prenatal chi comes from your parents. Postnatal chi comes from what you eat. So the stomach and spleen, as you can see, modern understanding is the stomach is here, and spleen is understood as the pancreas. It's this little piece under here. Okay, who would love to read this real quick in the top paragraph? Can we get a different person than Toya?
I can do it.
All right, Catherine.
All right. The stomach transforms food to produce chi, postnasal, I just said postnasal, postnatal energy in the body. Resistance to all digestive issues such as nausea, food poisoning, raw foods, expel pathogens, immune system, resistance to fatigue. Can you stomach it? After going to a restaurant, you got sick. Everyone ate the same thing. How come no one else got sick? Are you always hungry? Or do you not get hungry?
Yeah. So all these things comes from the stomach. And also, if someone has a quote unquote weak stomach, right? If something happens, let's say it's a traumatic event, they saw something unpleasant, or they smelled something unpleasant, they will start vomit, right? Why is that? Well, it has to do with the gallbladder too, and the liver. But it's if the stomach chi is weaker, a person would tend to do that. Then the stomach overacts, they start to vomit. And the idea is that too, remember, we have the stomach being the building block, and the blueprint is over your thoughts, right? If what you believe to be true is here, and you see that there is all of a sudden there is, I guess, I don't know, an alarm, or I don't know, something like a raccoon comes in, or a tiger jumps in, that would challenge your current trust and belief about what it is, right? Well, where'd that come from? So that shocks the trust virtue, which is the earth element, which then is also your stomach. So this is all one move. Make sense? So it's not just the stomach. Spleen. Who wants to read spleen? Anyone? Toya?
Okay. Produce blood, prevents water retention, controls saliva. Nerve digestive nutrients for cells, keeps organs from collapsing, houses clear thinking, controls muscles, opens into mouth and lips. Appetite, knowing what you need. Why do you get sores on lips or mouth when stressed? Do you crave non-stop sugar? More when stressed? Do you go to the gym but have a hard time gaining muscle?
Yep. So if you have any of those above, it's a spleen issue. Also, House's clear thinking is the spleen. Okay, the spleen is kind of like the manager at a restaurant, and then the stomach is the cook. So the stomach cooks the food. The spleen tells the waiters which table to deliver the food. So the reason for spleen is that right, you are digesting all these nutrients. You eat fish oil, you eat these different mushrooms that helps you brain, you eat all these nutrients, supplements, vitamins. These vitamins should be going to different places, wrong places. You drink water, the water could be going straight to the ankle, not to your body to transform into fluids. So these are all the spleen issue. Okay, so all this is considered the department of transportation. The stomach and spleen is transporting and transforming food into your body. So, who wants to read this really quick? Nobody? Come on. Mark?
After stomach and spleen, food enters the small intestine. Small intestine heats up food liquids, separating pure and dirty fluids. Clear goes the large intestine and turbid goes the bladder, absorbs nutrients. If small intestine is cold, it will not be able to disperse pure fluids to large intestines and will have a hard time absorbing nutrients. Small intestine gets heat from the heart. Heart's heat capacity is maintained by regular exercise and being kind to others.
Yeah.
Breathing know that keeps maintaining the same state. Going?
No, that's good. So, the universal law, you get what you give, right? And no matter which religion or belief, is that being generous, compassionate, giving, volunteering is always a good act, because that determines how the food then is absorbed after it goes through the stomach and spleen into the small intestine. So this is why being, someone that's volunteering and doing all these things all the time, this tends to be a healthy person for that reason. Is that, and also, let's say if you start to get better, we start treating the small intestine, and you would likely be a little bit more generous and a little bit more, right? So being generous is not just with money. It could be generous with your time, generous with your emotions, generous with, right? So think that way. It's not always money, being generous, like buying people things. So a good, healthy, functioning body also resonates with good, healthy, normal human virtues as well. We talk about the lung because the lung has to do with the large intestine. So the lung breathes in, okay? And then when you breathe in through the lung, a healthy lung then helps the large intestine to produce mucus. And healthy breathing also helps with letting in and letting go. So a person with constipation, right, they're unwilling to let go of what? Poop, right? Now, with the theory of the mind and body is the same, it's safe to say if someone's unwilling to let go of different events, thoughts, things, unwilling to let go, they will also have constipation issues as well. And through treating the body, helping people with constipation issues, they then let the mind go. The reason that modern medicine has trouble with this is that it's only designed to give you something to move this without the other part. Part of, I listen to Alan Watts here and there. Who knows Alan Watts? He's a philosopher. So he said modern people likes to separate wetness from water, separating the bees and the flowers. It's like when I ask you, where do you find the bees? You say nearby flowers, right? Would bees exist without flowers? Would flowers exist without bees? So bees and flowers comes hand in hand. So does wetness and water. You have water, so it's going to be wet because that's what water is, right? So how do you separate the day and night? You can't. Likewise, you can't separate two different things. And the overall concept is that we want to see the thing as a whole, instead of separating and distinguishing and discriminating. There's a saying that, a quote that I really love, I heard recently, is, what's a good man but a bad man's example? And what's a bad man but a good man's job? And that pretty much summarizes a lot of what we're doing here, right? You know. So you are doing well. So then you do your best to guide and help those who are a little bit less unfortunate. And if you are a rascal, then you keep the good people employed, right? So you break the law, then okay, then that's why we have police officers. Right? If there's no thieves, then there's no need for police either. So then we are all part of one. Like, you can't say mosquitoes are not important, even though we all hate mosquitoes, right? So that feeds, mosquitoes feed something else, that feeds something else, then everything else works together. I personally don't like mosquitoes, but hey, you know what? I know it does something. So if we design something to kill all the mosquitoes forever and ever, that's going to screw something up, right? Yeah. Okay, so this is where we put everything together. So we start from a good night's sleep. So 1 to 3 a.m. solar time, 2 to 3 a.m. Michigan time. If you sleep through the night, your liver will start feeling good. Liver is wood element. When you burn wood in nature, it turns into fire. So liver naturally turns into fire, which is heart. So your heart start to feel good. And you start feeling joy. If you wake up at 2, 3 a.m. in the morning, and I see that, and a patient says, oh, I have a happy life, I would say, you could be a lot happier, be a lot more joyful. So you start experiencing joy. The heart would be better. If a person doesn't feel joyful, that's actually where all diseases start, is a person start to feel sad. Happiness is very important for health. You do what makes you happy. That's important. So when the heart is healthy, the heart is fire, the small intestine is too. They're like the flower and the bees. When the heart is functioning correctly, the small intestine functions correctly. When the small intestine functions correctly, this person now has clear thinking to separate the good and the bad. Who here knows someone that tells somebody else something and their takeaway is not what you intended? You tell them a story about virtue and they are caught up on a fact, saying, oh no, I didn't, that wasn't supposed to be. That person wasn't supposed to be barefoot. But that wasn't the point. The point wasn't if someone wears shoes or not. It was supposed to be what this person did, right? So you can see how that causes issue for children when they so-called ADD too, is that they're getting a different message. So then the question is, how do you screw up the small intestine? Ice water. If you chug jugs of ice water into the stomach, which goes right into the small intestine gets cold, you automatically start to not digest well. You start not being able to be focused. This is why in traditional Asian cultures, if you come to my house, and I always ask, hey, would you like something to drink? You always say yes, right? And if you say no, I still serve you something, because if you say no, it's just you being polite. And you taste the water. If you notice it's cold and it's not hot, that means I'm telling you you're not welcome here, without telling you that. So I could serve all of you drinks, but let's say if one of you gets served cold water, then you get the hint. So then it's implied that perhaps you should leave earlier, because then everybody else is here, right? Wow. Right. So cold water is very damaging to the digestive system.
Thanks, Lucky.
Oh, you're welcome.
If we learned nothing else
All right.
today, it was that.
Right,
Not
okay.
being sarcastic.
Right. Good.
Wow.
So sorry, these aren't warm, but we don't. The room temperature is the new warm. Okay. All right. All right. So what happens next? When your heart is warm, your hands start to become warmer. when your small intestine is warm, your feet start to become warmer. Okay. So when you go to a doctor a couple thousand years ago, they would look at you, and if you have cold hands and feet, that's actually the first step before this person gets sick. But you go to a modern doctor, you say, my hands and feet always get cold. You most likely hear, oh, my wife's feet is colder. What's your point? You know? So this is being ignored, but this is the first sign the body's having issues, because it starts from the heart. Cold hands means that this person is lacking some joy in their life, whether it is internal or external factors. So just know, some people's hand is supposed to be a little bit colder. I'm talking about icy cold here, okay? Small intestine heats up the large intestine, so small intestine digests the food, separates the fluids, and then the waste goes into the large intestine. But our body is very self-sufficient. The water gets absorbed one more time. So this is like a stove, like a heater. It heats up the large intestine, and it ascends. It's like if the earth is hot, all the steam rises to the lung, so the lung gets moist. But if the small intestine is cold, there will be fluid coming to the large intestine, and people have loose stools, right? That means that loose stools accompanies with dry cough. That's where that comes from. And this is a joke from my acupuncture teacher. He said, word for word, he said, if acupuncture doesn't work out, he wants to be a detective. And what he would do is that he would see the prisoners, and he would check their stools. If the person has loose stools, that means this person feels sad. That means that they didn't do it. If the stools are formed and good, that means this person is happy. That means he did it. Because the heart functions good, the small intestine is functioning good, he's able to have normal stools. That means he didn't feel bad. That means this person's guilty. So anyways, this is roughly what's going on. So let's say if a person is sad, modern science says that, right, this person is having loose stools, which connects with depression. If you have depression, that also causes loose stools. But the approach is that they want to look at gut microbiomes. But, we see something that a little bit bigger, that encaptures everything. All right, so now we add the bladder into it. So if the small intestine is cold, the bladder shrinks. This person then also has frequent urination. Now, this is all given the stomach and spleen is doing good, that you have chi, that you can actually complete this process. If the process is not complete, the energy will stay in one organ. If it stays there long enough, it becomes growths, such as tumor or even cancer. Okay. So when the bladder is water element. Only when the bladder heats up, it nourishes the liver, which then the liver would then be nourished, so then this person won't get angry. Otherwise, this person gets angry. It's unless a person is low on their energy and elderly, typically if someone has frequent urination, this person also has a bad temper. And don't sleep well at night. If this person doesn't get angry, they have very bad emotional issues, because that's what liver encapsulates. Okay. So you see, this whole thing is kind of like the precipitation cycle. Who knows what that is? The precipitation cycle is that you have a pool of water. When the sun shines, water evaporates into the sky. And when there's enough water in the clouds gather, and then the rains comes down again, right? So in a healthy system, it's always happening. In an unhealthy system, it happens, but it happens a lot. Or it doesn't happen at all. Very vicious, just like the weather. And it's the idea that how we are as human beings, since we live on Earth, is correlated with our environment. The healthier each collectively individuals are, the better the environment is. The worse the environment, which then affects us inevitably, then if we don't change, we then make the environment worse. Right? So then, it's my belief that if everyone gets acupuncture, we're going to change the world. So now we add kidney into the picture. So with healthy lungs that nourish the kidney, so then the kidney will start functioning better. And then with whatever kidney gets filtered in, it goes back into the bladder. So you see, our body is very, very self-sustainable. So first, the water and food gets come in from the stomach and spleen, goes into the small intestine. Small intestine heats it up, separates the nutrients. Spleen takes it to different parts of the body. And then whatever left over that is, like a mesh, goes into the large intestine. Large intestine, because small intestine heats it up one more time, goes into the liver, and some of the waste goes to the kidney, right? Or it goes to the bladder. So then the bladder heats up one more time. The bladder nourishes the liver, the large intestine nourishes the lung. Because of the liver feeling good, it nourishes the heart. This person starts feeling happier. Happier heart gives more heat to your stove, which is the small intestine. A healthier lung nourishes the kidney, which then cleans the kidney, push the kidney into the waste from the kidney into the bladder. The bladder then evaporates that one more time back into the liver. So we cook the water twice. So then that means that if the lungs not healthier, if someone smokes all the time or always gets dry cough, kidney stones are next. Go ahead.
So, usually Western medicine says if you have hypertension, it will affect your kidneys. But I have heard from, the traditional Chinese doctor that I went to that it's actually the reverse. That if the kidneys are not properly functioning, it affects your blood pressure. And it's not,
Gotcha. So the question was, for those of you online, the question was about hypertension and hypotension and how does that work, right? Hypo, in my understanding, is your body retaining a lot of fluids, is right, water retention. Hyper is the lack of thereof, right? So then it's the whole system to answer the question. I know it has to do with adrenal fatigue, which is the kidney too, but it's not just the kidney. So it's most likely the spleen not working right, the stomach and spleen, which starts from the digestion. If your body is retaining water, it's a stomach and spleen issue later leads into kidney because the small intestine is not functioning. Most likely this person has cold hands and feet. Yeah. So, and obviously case by case, we'll have to see what other things, right, which leads into the next slide. Oh, and this is how gallbladders work, is that gallbladders where they store junk that comes from the liver. If the small intestine is not heating up the bladder and the bladder is not sending steam into the liver for cleansing, and this person also has a stressful job and gets angry all the time, it then has a very concentrated amount of waste into the bladder, and that risks the chance of gallstones. Okay? And the idea through how we help with that is that, right, it's like a cologne. The gallbladder is like a cologne. It's like the tip of the cologne. So then if you have a gallstone, it's like the tip of the cologne getting blocked. So when you press, it's like a spray, it doesn't come out, right? So what we do here is that we strengthen the body so it sprays harder, and then all the waste then gets ejected into the stomach, which helps digest greasy and fatty foods, right? Too much gallbladder is acid reflux. Not enough gallbladder, then it causes different issues where you have a hard time digesting meat, which then causes gout. So then the idea of Chinese medicine was just press harder, makes the system work a little harder. But then the modern medicine is just like, oh, let's just cut the top off. So then what happens when you cut the gallbladder off is that you really don't have a control of the liver coming, having that bile excrete into the stomach, so that messes things up, right? So the wood element represents the liver and gallbladder, which this is going to be the spring class. We talk about liver and gallbladder. Make sure you attend that one. That one is the wood is related to these organs. And the reason for that is wood is the only element on earth that has a transforming effect. So it takes the dirtiest things like feces, okay? It loves it. It actually grows and makes it oxygen for everybody to use. So this is why wood element is also considered compassion, is that people that do compassion work also turns criminals and outcasts of society and make them whole again. This is why a lot of places they have like healing center, they have a symbol as a sprout, like a tree, right? So then this is what liver is that if you have a healthy liver, you can turn anger, you can turn all the wastes of the body, of the blood, liver holds the blood, into inspiration, into things that you do. If you have a hard time turning that into action, then you get angry about it. Then you won't do something about it, right? And then the bladder is considered trees, as liver is considered like small plants. So cutting off the bladder is like cutting off all the trees into the earth, because the young wood. This may answer partially what Toya was asking before of how we diagnose hypo versus hyper, is that we see more than this person, okay? Different organs is correlated to different parts of the body. So as you come in, yes, I'm checking you out. A lot more than you think. I look at the quality of your flesh. I look at your eyes, I look at your lips, I look at your hair, I look at the quality of your speech, I look at how you walk, I look at your skin. Different organs is tied to different functions of your body, of your organ, which then ties to different thoughts and different aspirations. It ties to your temper, ties to your timing. Everything has to do with everything else. Surprise. And this is part of nature too. Right? So this is your tongue. We're almost done. I know we're here going over a little bit. We're going to wrap up in about 5 minutes here. So that is not a picture of me, just in case you're wondering. So this is the tongue here, okay? This is a reverse image of your body, of your torso. So how I see how you're doing is we see the heart, which is where I can see if there's any energy blockage here. The lung would be this area. Liver and gallbladder on the side, stomach, spleen here, kidney and intestines. This is why we take a picture of your tongue. And then we take comparisons later. there's a lot more involved, right? Different qualities of the tongue, and real tongues kind of look like this. It's a hodgepodge of everything else. So some examples would be, let's say this person is a damp heat. We can see the person has a lot of heat, thick coating, okay? This person loves to eat greasy, loves to get angry. Person stays up late. I would say he goes to bed about 12:30, 1 a.m. at least. Loves cold water. Most likely either a drinker or a smoker, okay? This person doesn't like to go out much, but likes to get angry, right? Why? Because this tongue is more blue. This person is more stagnant, more sedentary. Most likely works in an office. Okay? This person probably is more active. So this person loves sweets. Tongue swells. Okay? Slippery tongue, diarrhea, loose stools. This person is very fatigued. Never get enough sleep. Okay? Very hard time waking up. Sleeps in on Sundays. This person is probably not at this class because this person wants to sleep still. So yeah. So anyway, reality is a little messy, right? And also we have geographical tongues, so this is obviously doesn't always apply. So different times of the day correlates to different meridian channels, right? Different organs. Remember the spleen channel, stomach channel is these lines here. So when I put needles on these lines. So if you have stomach and spleen issues, most likely you're going to find pain and discomfort on these lines, which we call meridian. And this is where you go to the doctors, you could do all kinds of MRI, x-rays, and you don't know what's going on because I don't see any issues, but I still get the pain. So then, easy. You come in for acupuncture, we make sure the meridian goes through and pain's gone. Now, if you have the pain for a long time, then it creates inflammation, and then it may create, different type of issues. Then, if you start having a lot of issues, right, you would then go to a doctor, get an X-ray, and let's see if they find something. Typically speaking, it is 120 days if you have pain, then the yang cycle turns into the yin cycle. Yang is dispersing, remember? Yin is consolidating. So then the pain sensation turns into physical mass and manifestation. Just like before two people get into a fight, they'll argue first, right? Before the argument consolidated into an argument, they'll have a disagreement. Before the disagreement, they would have had friction. Make sense? So what we want to do is get rid of that before that becomes something. But modern day is like, show me the evidence. No evidence, no case. So if you do it that way, which is okay, then you wouldn't do anything until you have something. Even if you have something, if the cancer is not big enough, well, good luck. Come back when the cancer is bigger. Right? So that's not right. That it could be better. Let's put it this way. It could be better. It could be a lot better. By the way, disclaimer, acupuncture does not treat cancer. I don't want to go to prison. But, if you get acupuncture, we can definitely prevent that. So excess versus deficient, this is just, we want is a balance, right? Let's over here, it's a lot of water. Over here is very dry, no water. Okay, these are different states on Earth, also different states in our body. So I'm going to send the handout here and also upload this onto YouTube so you can read about this later. So these are different foods you should be eating according to the season, or Toya was talking about earlier. And these are different tastes. Do you like sweet? Do you have a sweet tooth, if you need something, you're lacking something. But overeating that isn't always the solution, right? That means that, let's say if someone's having sweets, that means their spleen is not functioning properly, because the spleen is supposed to turn sugar into energy. But if it's not doing a good job turning sugar, it needs more sugar. It's like a gas guzzler car, right? You keep filling in gas, but I'm not getting a lot of mileage. That means you're burning a lot of gas, right? If you get a better engine, it would be more efficient. Right? So remember, we're looking for efficiency here, right? If you like a lot of spicy, okay, you like a lot of salt, you like a lot of sour and bitter, this is why. With different things. And this is how each thing transforms into the other. This is 5 elements. So come to my other classes where in Acupuncture 101, all we talk about is the elements, and different people have different elements. So let's say if you are a fire person, you like to speak, you like to be seen, you like taking pictures, right? If you're a water or metal element, you might not care about so much, because I don't really care about that, right? So different people have different behaviors, which then have different tastes, which then affects their body differently because of the foods that they eat, because what they like. Okay, good practices. Waking up on time is important, because remember, when are you? Make sure your timing is right. Strengthen your trust. Trust your fellow human beings and trust your creator. Trust the universe. That also helps with your digestive system. Be more consistent with things that you do. Would also develop, okay? The chi. So some people may have issues with this. Okay, what does what I think and what I do have to do with what organs are, right? Think about it this way. Everything has a frequency, okay? So the same frequency that this has, which is metal, is the same frequency that speaks to your lung and large intestine. The same frequency dirt has is the same frequency your stomach has. Is the same frequency of trust. Is if a person has a hard time with that one thing, is they have a hard time with this frequency. Does it make sense? Mistakes. There is such a thing as overnourishment. Sometimes I'm saddened by people that overprescribe supplements. But I'm also happy that these people are helping people get off of drugs. So that's a good thing. But if you overdo these nourishments, it's also not good. Because why? It weakens your body's ability to digest natural food. It's kind of like a kid. Instead of you working and do some thing to make money, I need to just give you a credit card. Go ahead. Right? Instead of eating an apple to get vitamins, I just give you this pill that has all your fruits and vegetables. You just eat that. Yeah. But guess what? After a while, your stomach forgets what it's like to digest that thing, right? It's kind of like refined sugar. Do we want sugar? Yeah, you want it, and you worked for it. But if I just give you refined sugar, that's just me. I'll just give you $1 million. That's the quickest way to ruin someone, is you give them all that money all up front, and what are you going to do? You're going to do something stupid. Right? But if you want to give me $1 million, I'll just build more clinics. Okay, if you want to give me money, go ahead. And foods that are cold, also smoothies. I would say that if you don't have, obviously fruits and vegetables are important. So take my words in relative terms. Let's say if you're not having that, obviously supplements are better. if you don't have access to the fruits and vegetables. But if you do, then eat the fruits and vegetables. That's better than that, right? So then the food and drinks, when this is cold, obviously is bad for the small intestine. We all know that. Intermittent fasting, I would say do it sparingly because it messes up your timing. You're supposed to eat 3 meals. This is kind of a brochure for the next future classes, is that, right? The liver, which is the next class, I think. No, the next class is kidneys. The kidneys has to do with your ear. So if you have kidney issues, you also have ear ringing. You also have issues with your bones, okay? You also have the emotion of fear. You also hate winter. You hate the cold. You always sigh very deeply. You most likely don't like color that are black or places that are dark. You also don't like salty foods. Or you love salty foods too much. So it gets more interesting as we discover the truth behind, right, why things are. And like I said, we don't separate the wetness from water. We don't separate the fruits from the bees because everything is one. To study one, you have to study the whole category. And you have to study everything. And that is our belief. This is our, thing. So. Yep, what causes heartburn is, the question is what causes heartburn. What causes heartburn is overnourishment of sour. What's sour? Wood. What's wood? Liver and gallbladder. A lot of liver, a lot of gallbladder, which is too much for your digestion to handle. The acid regurgitates up. When liver and gallbladder energy is supposed to go down. And stomach, so that's why. Yeah. So different energies have different directions. So this is more technical. So I didn't want to bore you with technical details. So for example, when you eat, okay, when you get angry, liver's energy goes up, right? Why? Because trees, plants, it grows up, right? What direction does dirt go? Down, right? So dirt is also what? Digestion, right? So when you digest, you don't spit it out, right? You're not supposed to. You go down, you're supposed to poop, right? So what happens if you get angry and you eat at the same time? You get pain on the side. And you don't know why you have pain. You get x-rays, you wouldn't find it. But if you have pain right here, this is the gallbladder channel. Get pain here is the liver channel. Get pain here is the liver channel. This is when you eat and you get angry at the same time. Right? So when you eat, don't get angry. If you're gonna get angry, don't eat. That's an example of contradicting in energy flow patterns, how that affects pain. And if you have pain for a long period of time, it manifests into masses, growths, inflammation, different weird growths, diseases, which is has to do with everything. Okay, so selfishly speaking, I want this message to reach out to more people. I would love to do a video of your takeaways. If you don't want your face to be up in the interwebs, that's all right. Just talk to me after, and I'll have Sarah cut you out of here. Okay, but generally speaking, I think that we're in a phase of life where everybody should know, right, how to be sustainable within ourselves. Is only when we can sustainable within ourselves we can take that more seriously, which is without. Okay, so it's something that I would really love, and it's just something that we need. So I'm gonna go around and I'll do this quick video. Everybody do a takeaway. And I'm actually gonna stop recording.